Do you want to change your special direction while being airborne? Change the direction your character is moving, while keeping your special in the same direction? Before we start, this guide is for every character who can perform these techniques, but I will mainly use Link as an example. Throughout the video I will go into a few details for Link as well, but not too many. My name is Silentor and today's topic is how to turn around, B-reverse and wave bounce. First lesson, turn around. To turn around down special or up special, slightly tilt the control stick in the opposite direction you are facing. Tilting too much results in a side special, so better move your control stick between two notches like in the image. While airborne, a lot of characters can neutral special in the opposite direction they are facing. To perform this technique, first tap your control stick for a short moment in the opposite direction and then press special. How to practice? I will show you two ways to practice. Either jump and try to perform the inputs, or my preferred method, run off the stage, then tap the control stick towards the stage, release the control stick and press special. The big advantages of this method are, you don't have to worry about another button input, which is jump, you got more time to input, especially on a big stage, and you see your mistakes better. Once you know the timing, you can try it out while jumping. Okay, let's go through a few mistakes. You release the control stick too late before inputting special. This results in a side special. You input the neutral special too slow after tapping the control stick. This results in a normal neutral special. You tap the control stick after performing special. This results in a normal neutral special or B-reverse, our next technique. Second lesson, B-reverse. Instead of changing the shooting direction, a B-reverse also changes your character's moving direction. You can also do it while jumping backwards, the inputs stay the same. First press special and then tap the control stick in the opposite direction immediately afterwards. Backwards it is the same, it just looks more confusing. Remember to tap the control stick in the opposite direction you face afterwards. Differences: turn around, first control stick, then special, B-reverse, first special, then control stick. To practice I also recommend the run off the stage method. It is also possible to B-reverse up, down and side special. Up special, first press up and special, second tilt your stick in the opposite direction. Down special, first input down and special, and then tilt your stick in the opposite direction. Down special B-reverse after dashes like a half circle input while pressing special halfway through. Side special, input side and special and then tilt your stick in the opposite direction. You can always look at the bottom right to see how to perform every technique on the controller. Mistakes. You tap the control stick too slow, resulting in a normal, neutral, up, down or side special. For neutral special, your stick was not in neutral position after jumping, resulting in a side special. A quick note before the recap, you can also do the B-reverse grounded. This also works for more specials and the inputs stay the same just without jumping. But some moves have different properties grounded and may work airborne, but not grounded. And other moves don't work at all. There are too many moves to list for me, but I'm sure you can ask other mains which moves work. For Link it is neutral special, side special and airborne up special only. To the Link mains, if you want to turn around special while running, you have to first turn Link around and then up special. For turnaround up special out of shield, press up and special diagonal in a smash motion. If you are only a bit too late on the up special, this will result in a roll, so be careful. Recap: turn around, tap in the opposite direction, then get control stick in neutral position for neutral special only, then input special. B-reverse, first input special, then flick the control stick in the opposite direction. And when we combine these two techniques, we will get our last technique, a wave bounce. A wave bounce is the combination of doing a turnaround and a B-reverse afterwards. The turnaround changes your character's facing position, the B reverse changes your character's facing position and your moving direction. Stuff like this is possible. Before we start, here's something important. While doing a turnaround and B reverse, you always have to tap your control stick in the opposite direction your character is facing. Link is facing right, so you have to tap left. Press special. Now Link is facing left, you have to tap right. You successfully pulled off a wave bounce. Let's begin with neutral special. Tap in the opposite direction, get control stick in neutral position, input special and flick the control stick in your moving direction. Next is side special. Input side special in the opposite direction, flick the control stick in your moving direction. You may have noticed now that the side special wave bounce are almost the same inputs as the B reverse. B reverse throws boomerang in front, then flicks the control stick in the opposite direction. Wave bounce throws boomerang behind, then flicks the control stick in the opposite direction. The direction of the projectile is different, but the movement of the character stays the same. You can, for example, fake out a retreat and come back in again to hit your opponent. First jump backwards, side special in the opposite direction and flick the control stick inwards again. Next is down special. Slightly tilt your control stick down in the opposite direction, press special, flick the control stick inward again. And last you got up special. Slightly tilt your control stick up in the opposite direction, press special, flick the control stick inward again. Mistakes. Because the wave bounce is a combination of a turnaround and B reverse, the biggest mistake you can make is trying to learn the wave bounce before you mastered the turnaround and B reverse. Other common mistakes follow the same lines as turnaround specials and B reverses. Mastering those is very important. Last lesson, thoughts. There are two important questions. With which moves can I perform these? And is this important for my character? For the turnaround, I would say yes. It is always good to know how to turn around your up special to recover, for example. And in general, they are a great way to keep your opponent guessing. Some characters can even perform other techniques with it. There's also another way to perform the B reverse and B reverse part of the wave bounce. For this you need to set one shoulder button to special. You press the special shoulder button and then tap the C stick instead of control stick. For the wave bounce, you need to turn around with the control stick and B reverse with the C stick. This is how the inputs look like. For some players, this method is easier because you don't have to flick the control stick 2 times very fast and can split it up. Turnarounds are only possible with the control stick. Keep that in mind. The reason this works for B reverse and wave bounces is that the C stick is a directional input plus attack. You already pressed special, which means you can't attack with the C stick, but the directional input is still registered. This is also the reason it doesn't work for turnarounds, because you have to input a direction before you perform an attack or special. At this point you have to try it out for yourself which method suits you best. I personally like it with only control stick because it feels easier for me. I also tried this method out with other charges. For Mewtwo and Lucario I don't get this to work no matter how fast I input it. This is probably due to their short charge animation at the beginning. The A input of the C stick still registers and fires the charge. And this is it for today's guide. It was honestly really hard to put this guide into words. This is due to the fact that all those different directions you have to input can get really confusing, which is the most important part. And I didn't want to mess this up. So I really hope this guide was understandable for everybody. If you want to stay up to date and get notifications about future guides or other videos as well, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell. It would help me out a lot, and you can always unsubscribe at any point of time if you don't like my content anymore. And if you like the video, you can also give it a thumbs up. I also plan to make future guides that are not Link related. Next guide will be a little bit different, and it is more about Link and me. You can also write down in the comment section which guides you want to see. I already got a lot on my list, but I'm sure some of you have completely new ideas as well. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention. When you used my practice method, you can probably do a turnaround B-reverse and wave on some platforms too. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and I see you all next time. Have a blast!